Good morning, everyone. This is the Back Row Bengals Sports Podcast presented to you by Back Row Sports. I'm your host, Josh Miller, and it's great to be back on Thursday. Had one come out on Tuesday. It's our first time back in a week. Really needed to come back. Excited to be back right now. We're going to be talking about the schedule this week, and we'll talk about that today, and then we'll finish it up on Tuesday. We have not gone through the entire schedule yet and really dive into where the Bengals stand, what I think their record's going to be. Are they going to be better or are they going to be worse? Let's pray to God not worse, and trust me, I don't believe that they're going to be worse, but let's see what we think. And I definitely do want to get you guys' comments. I want to hear what you guys think of what the Bengals are going to do. You can agree with me, disagree with me. Either way, we can have a great conversation on Twitter or in some way. If you want to come on the pod, I'm more than welcome to have anybody who wants to talk about the Bengals. So we can go ahead and get started. I have weeks 1 through 8 labeled out. I think that we're only going to do 1 through 8 depending on time. If I feel like we can keep going, I'll hit pause. I'll write down my predictions for the rest of the 8, and then we'll come back and we'll do it again. If the time doesn't allow for it, we'll probably push it to Tuesday. And I'll do the last 8 on Tuesday, and then hopefully probably something else at the end of it. But I do want to go in depth on the schedule this year, and we haven't really talked about it because I don't know why we it just hasn't really been the center of the Bengals news is their schedule. Probably because a lot of is there even going to be an NFL season? I believe that there is going to be an NFL season. I'm almost going to guarantee it. College, I'm a little skeptical, and just people are really worried right now. So a lot of people aren't even looking at the schedule. So let's go ahead and look at the schedule. Let's act like we're fine, and we're gonna go back to games, and it's gonna be normal. But let's go through the schedule and let's see where the Bengals stand at the end of week 8. So week 1, we're at home. It's a 4:05 kick against the Chargers. Now, honestly, when you look at the Chargers versus the Bengals, the Chargers have a lot of questions. Their defense is pretty good. It's not incredible. They do have Joey Bosa, who's an X factor in their defense, but are they good enough everywhere else? Probably not. I mean, they did get Jacob Eason, but I don't think he's going to be starting. I think Tyrod Taylor is going to be starting, and honestly, the Chargers have a lot more questions than the Bengals do, and I think the Bengals, first week of the season, can sneak one out and they can get a win. I think this is a very winnable game for the Bengals. I think the Chargers are going to struggle defensively, not because they have a bad defense, but because this Bengals offense is very new. It hasn't really been seen. Obviously, new quarterback, T. Higgins, new scheme, 40% new offensive line. AJ Green is back. It's just so different from last year. I think the Chargers are going to struggle, not just in terms of talent, but in terms of not being able to see it. And they haven't. I mean, Chargers are going to go in with a lot of unknown. So I'm going to go to the Bengals here. I think the Bengals are going to win this game. I don't think the Chargers are going to be very good this year. Personally, but either way, Bengals start out 1-0 at home. All right, week 2. It's a Thursday night game, 8:20 kick at Cleveland Browns. The real question, honestly, is if Stefanski is the real deal. If he is a good coach and he can contain that locker room, then the Browns are going to win. I think that's going to be the biggest telltale sign of this game is Stefanski good enough? Does he know what he's doing? Can he corral a team with that much talent? Can he get him to actually perform? I don't think Baker's up to task, but I think Baker can at least be an average quarterback, at least enough to let the other stars of the team get it done. But I believe that's the only chance that the Browns had to be incredibly successful in the years coming is if Stefanski is the real deal. I was talking with my roommate last night, and he's a big Browns fan. And so what happens if worst case scenario happens for the Browns, which again it can. If we've seen it happen before where they've been so overhyped and then immediately bounced out and had a bad season. And he said, like, we're just going to have to blow up the whole thing and rebuild again from scratch. And, that's going to be hard. But I think if they hit the ball right with Stefanski, I think the Browns win this one. And honestly, if we're going to go based off where each team is at the rebuild right in their stage of the rebuild, the Browns are obviously farther ahead than the Bengals. As much as I hate to say it, I think the Browns are going to win the next week. So it'll be the Bengals will be 1-1 but going into week 3. Week 3, we're at the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to be a very good team. They did waste a pick with Jalen Hurts. I don't think that's going to affect their team that much. I think if Carson Wentz the real question, if Carson Wentz stays healthy, the Eagles win. If he doesn't, I think the Bengals win. Carson's got to stay healthy. Now, it is week 3, so that's only 3 games into the season. If he gets hurt 3 games into the season, the Eagles have a lot more problems than just the Bengals. But if Carson is out there, the Eagles are going to win, and the Bengals will be 1-2. And going into week 4. Okay, so now week 4, it's home versus the Jags. Jaguars are an absolute dumpster fire. They have no idea what they're doing at the quarterback position. They do want Gardner Minshew to work. Is he going to work? Probably not. I don't think Gardner Minshew is that good of a quarterback. I think he's got a lot of room to grow. I think his physical stature isn't where the NFL needs him to be. I think he's a little too small, and he's not fast enough. He needs to be faster. They're just a disaster, honestly, in terms of internal locker room affairs. Obviously, that stuff with Jalen Ramsey, he just doesn't do anything good with the Jaguars, and that's probably still lingering. Something like, big contract holdouts, asking to be traded, that lingers with the team. It really does, especially if it's a top guy like Jamal Adams is doing with the Jets. I mean, asking for a trade at where he's a very highly touted player is gonna be it creates a ripple effect around the rest of the team. I think the Jaguars are still feeling the same thing. Also on top of that, it's at home. It's gonna be the Bengals' second game at home. Again, Joe Burrow. People still want to see him. People are gonna go see him. I think the Jungle will be probably not sold out, but it'll be pretty close. Bengals fans are going to be coming in, especially if they make the previous 2 games at least close. Week 4, honestly, I have the Bengals winning. I think the Bengals are going to win. I think Jacksonville has a lot of problems, not only with their team but internally as well. I think they have a lot more to deal with. I think the Bengals win at home versus the Jags, and I think the Bengals are going to be favored in that game too as well. Okay, so going into week 5, the Bengals are going to be 2-2 with their 2 wins coming against the Chargers and the Jaguars, and the 2 losses coming against the Browns and the Eagles. So let's go to Baltimore, week 5. Obviously, Baltimore is going to be a Super Bowl favorite. They have a ridiculous talent. They only added to it in this draft. They had an A draft. That was one of the problems the Bengals faced. Like everybody else, the Bengals had a great draft, but the problem is everybody else did too. That really sucks. I don't think we're there yet to be on the same level as Baltimore. Do I think we can get there? Absolutely. I think it'll be in a shorter time span than what people think. I think it'll be over the next 2 or 3 years rather than the next over 4 or 5 years. Baltimore's got ridiculous talent. They really do. They got the new linebacker, Patrick Queen. It's going to help them out on defense. I think the Bengals are gonna be better against Baltimore. They're going to play better. They're going to be more competitive. Might make it close down the stretch. They did it last year with a much worse team. They could do it again this year at Baltimore with a much better team. But I'm still not seeing the Bengals there yet. The Bengals are going to take this loss. They're going to be 2-3. So by week 5, they're 2-3. And they take that loss to Baltimore. Then week 6, they go at the Colts. Colts are a very good squad. They've been building for a while. Last year was supposed to be their big year until Andrew Luck retired. Again, how crazy that was. Honestly, a lot of the Colts' success is going to depend on Phillip Rivers. Can he perform? Can he throw the ball? Can Phillip Rivers? Can he deliver? Can he win the game? And honestly, a lot of people love Phillip Rivers, and he's been in the league for a while. He's had some good teams. He's had some not so good teams. I think Phillip Rivers is overrated. I think he's overrated. He really hasn't won much of anything in his career. Maybe he goes to Indy and changes that. Maybe he's, I mean, if Ryan Tannehill can go to the Tennessee Titans, beat the Patriots, and beat the Ravens, and then have a good chance to beat Kansas City in the AFC Championship in a year you weren't even supposed to make the playoffs, that's pretty damn good. So now if Philip Rivers can do that with the Colts, I mean, there's a possibility. I still don't think Philip Rivers is good enough. Now, is the team around him going to be really good this year? Yes. The Colts are going to be very good. They have a very good offensive line. They're doing a lot of what Dallas did a couple years ago, really center around the offensive line. You just get a great push in the running game. The Bengals are going to have some rookie linebackers, and their linebacking position was the worst, on the team last year. I think the Colts win this game. I think the Bengals are going to go 2-4 in the Week 6. 2-4, I think, when they go at the Colts. Okay, so now we got Week 7 at the Browns. Week 7, we are home against the Browns. Home against the Browns. I think the Browns, one of the biggest problems with the Browns is their consistency. They can't be consistent. It could be all season. It could be one part of the season. It's usually the whole season. The Browns are not consistent. And it is very hard, especially in the NFL, to beat a team twice. And not only that, the second time you play us, you're going to have to play in Paul Brown Stadium. I think the Bengals are going to catch them napping. I think the Browns think that they're going to be easily roll over us. And I don't think the Bengals are going to let it happen. I think the Bengals win this game, and the Bengals go 3-4. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a sloppy game. I think Baker's going to have to throw a couple picks. I think he will. I think he'll throw 3 or 4. And if he does that, the Bengals win, and the Bengals are 3-4. And just like that, in Week 7, we've already bettered our record from last year. Now we go to Week 8. So we're only at 12 minutes. You know what? We can do the rest of the schedule. I'll put it on pause. I'll go through the rest of the schedule. I'll write down my notes, and then we'll come back. Week 8. So on Week 8, we are home against the Tennessee Titans. Home against the Tennessee Titans. I think Titans are going to be good this year. I think they're going to be in a position that they've never been in, which is kind of to maybe not dominate, but be expected to compete and maybe even win the division. I think the Tennessee Titans are a very good team. I think Mike Vrabel's a great coach. I do, however, think that the Bengals could catch them off guard here. I think the Bengals could catch them napping. They could be riding the high of beating the Browns the week before, and just like that, the Bengals are 4-4. I really do think the Bengals could beat the Titans. I firmly believe that. I think, again, they're going to be in a position that they've never been in. And then on top of that, this is, again, a brand new Bengals team that a lot of people aren't going to see, that have never seen. I think the Bengals win this one, and the Bengals go 4-4. It's going to be a tight one. Tennessee's going to have to make some mistakes. The Bengals are going to have to create some mistakes. I think that's going to be a big thing for the defense is, can they make enough mistakes? It's not just going to be stop them on third down and just get off the field for the Bengals team this year. It's going to have to come from turnovers. I think the Bengals are going to, if they want to be successful, they're going to have to generate at least once a game, and best case scenario 2 or 3. I think they just do. They're going to need to put their offense in a position where they're on the opponent's 30. They're on the opponent's 40. They're going to need to start with great field position. Let's give Joe Burrow some comfort right away. I think that it's not going to be, if the Bengals really want to be successful this year, it's not going to be enough to have a defense that's going to stop them, every third, on third down, consistently. It's not going to only be that. It's going to be, we're going to have to generate turnovers. The Bengals are going to have to generate turnovers. So we're going to move on to Week 9. This has only been about 15 minutes, so we can make this one a little bit longer. I haven't been on the mic. Last Tuesday was the first time I've been on a mic in a long time, and it feels really good, and I'm having fun. So we're gonna keep it rolling. And then we're gonna move on to Week 9. Let's keep right on rolling. So we go to week 9. It is going to be in Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is good again. As much as we hate to say it, they're good again. They have a very young defense that they can rally around. Their offense is still a little, it has some questions. Juju Smith-Schuster is obviously going to be really good, but the rest of the offense, if Big Ben can't get it there, or, he has a down year, creates some drama in the locker room. I mean, we're going to talk about it later for their later matchup as well. I think a lot of it is going to depend on where is Big Ben. I don't know if Mason Rudolph can lead the Steelers to a successful season. I don't think Duck Hodges can either. It's going to depend on where Big Ben is, but I think if Big Ben is playing to the level that they think he's going to play at, I think the Steelers win. The Bengals are going to go 4-5 into Week 10. Week 10, I think is going to be the easiest one to call. It's definitely going to be the Bengals are going to win this one easy versus the Redskins. The Bengals are going to go 5-5. The Redskins are just a mess at quarterback. Yes, they did get Chase Young. They do have some weapons offensively, but their defense outside of Chase Young is still a disaster. Their offense is their quarterback's a mess. The Redskins are in a bad spot. Obviously now they are going to do a name change, a rebrand, which is a good thing. Probably needed to do that. But in terms of on-field play, they're going to be bad. So 5-5. I think the Bengals are going to be 5-5 after that game. They go to Washington and win. Okay, Week 11. They play at home versus the Giants. Now, this is an interesting one. I think the Giants are going to be a very interesting team to watch. I think they really could go one of two ways. They could either be a top team that's going to probably win their division, maybe even win a playoff game, or they can completely miss the playoffs and go 5-11. I think it's one or the other. It's going to be it's kind of hard for me to see the Giants actually being like middle of the pack. But I can see them on both ends of the spectrum. I think they're either going to be really good or really bad. It's going to really depend on if the Bengals can stop Saquon. I mean, dude's ridiculous. He's an absolute monster in the backfield. I don't know if the Bengals can yet. I don't know if they can yet. I think the Bengals are going to let this one slip at home. I think the Giants are going to win just based off of their pure running game and pure running power. I think the Giants win this one, and the Bengals will be 5-6. All right, Week 12, a huge marquee matchup. It's set for 1 o'clock, but I'm sure they're going to move it to the nighttime spot, especially if, depending on the seasons. It's Bengals versus Dolphins, Burrow versus Tua. I'm going with a hot take. I don't think that Tua is going to play this game. I think his injury is still going to be nagging him at Week 12. I think the Dolphins don't have a good enough offensive line to really protect him. I think he's going to have a hit where he doesn't throw right or doesn't run right. I think he's either going to be out of the game or he's not going to be playing at 100%. I think that the Bengals are going to take advantage of this. I think Burrow is a better quarterback than Tua. I think obviously Tua now with the injuries, you get really worried about, a guy like that because, I mean, injuries are massive in the NFL. You take one injured guy and your whole rebuild is gone. It's the same thing with Tua and the Dolphins. So I think the Bengals are going to win this one, and I think and I don't think Tua's going to even play in the game. I don't want him to not play in the game, obviously. I don't want anybody to miss because of injury, but I don't think he's going to be in the game. That being said, Bengals win that one, go 6-6. Week 13 at home versus the Cowboys. Yeah. This is an interesting one. It's because the team is just so stacked with they're like the Browns. They're so stacked with talent, but they just can't do anything with them. Mike McCarthy is going to be the new head coach. He's going to look really weird with Dallas blue on him, but they have a hell of a roster and their offensive line is very, very good. Their defense is solid. Dak is a question mark. He really is. This contract negotiation with him is really started to wear on the Cowboys. They want to get it done and just move on and get ready for the season, but they can't. I mean, if Dak holds out, that would be a massive contract holdout for a quarterback. I don't think a quarterback's ever had a contract holdout. I'm gonna have to look that up later, but I don't think a quarterback's ever had a contract holdout. That would be a great storyline if Dak holds out on the Cowboys, but I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I think the Cowboys win, and I mean, if the Bengals can stop the running game, I think the Bengals do have a chance. But if they can't, I don't think the Bengals are gonna be able to get this done. We're looking at 6-7 at week 13, 6-7, and we're heading into week 14. Now we got at night, at home versus Pittsburgh. At night, at home versus Pittsburgh. Oof. The Steelers will probably be fighting for a playoff spot at that time. However, it's going to be week 14. I think that most of Big Ben's original teammates and teammates that he's really built around are gone. I don't think he reacts to young talent very well. I think he sees as him aging himself. I don't think he likes that. I think he's going to create drama in the locker room. I think just the Steelers locker room just is toxic. It really is. It's very toxic. I think he'll be a part of creating drama. I think honestly because of that, I think there will be disassociation with the Steelers and some of their players and fights and not being able to hold it together towards the end of the season, which they've been shown to do that over the past couple of years, to just get into a playoff spot. And I think the Steelers will be fighting for a playoff spot at week 14. And I think the Bengals are going to put a hard stop in their tracks. And I think the Bengals win this one to go 7-7 in week 14. 7-7 in week 14. They beat Pittsburgh at home in Paul Brown Stadium. Week 15. So now I have the Bengals at 7-7. So that means they still have a chance at a playoff spot. Just saying that is so refreshing. Just to think that is so refreshing than what we've had. They're at 7-7 at week 14. They've got a chance to make the playoffs with a lot of young talent. That would be a great season. The season I'm describing right now is a very successful season. It really is. It's a very successful. Now I know obviously after the Bengals went to the playoffs multiple years in a row, that became the standard here, and that should stay the standard here. So we need to, I mean, it's okay to, always want to go to the playoffs every year, but I mean, to go from 2-14 to 7-7 in week 14 and vying for a playoff spot, that's huge. That's a big leap, in terms of an organization. So let's go week 15. They play at the Texans. I think Deshaun Watson is a stud. I think his arm is very, very good. I think the team around him is good, not great. I think they have the chance to be a playoff team. It depends on the rest of their division, but I think the Texans are going to handle their business, and they're going to realize that week 15 we need to win this one. J.J. Watt just being on that team, J.J. Watt just being on that team changes the entire look of the defense. There's few players that are like that. Nick Bosa is like that. He just by being out there, he changed the entire look of the 49ers defense. And so J.J. Watt does the same thing for the Texans. I think the Texans win this one, and at the Texans, it's going to be hard to do at Houston, even though the Bengals are historically really good against Houston. Maybe not in the playoffs. Let's not talk about that. So I think the Texans are going to win this one, and the Bengals are going to be 7-8 going into week 16 against the Ravens. So week 16, it's 7-8. We're more than likely out of the playoffs, and we're going to be playing the Ravens at home. And the problem that I'm seeing with making the pick right now is if the Ravens are already going to have their playoff spot locked up or not. I think they'll get in at the very least a 3 seed. If all else goes wrong, they're going to have the third seed of the. They're going to have the third seed of the playoff, the AFC playoffs. Sorry about that. And I think that they are going to have a game. The week 16 is going to be the game where they're going to have to make they're going to have to win in order to get the second spot or even the first spot. If that happens and the Ravens put everybody out there and they're not trying to rest and they're trying to win, I think the Ravens are going to win. At Paul Brown, the Bengals will end the season 7-9. Now, if the Ravens don't try and they're either locked in at whatever seed they are, or they've missed the playoffs, which is not going to happen, Bengals end up 7-9. That's a damn good record right after going 2-14. That's promising. Those are wins against teams that are really good this year. I'm very excited to see where it's going, and I really do think this. Looking at it, it's definitely achievable. This is not totally out of the realm of possibility. I mean, think about it. Some of the games. I mean, let me go back through my notes. I mean, like the night game versus Pittsburgh. If they're having problems in the locker room, Bengals could steal that one. I think the Bengals could at least beat the Browns at least once this year. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. I think I think the Bengals are going to have games where they're flat out better than the opponent. The Bengals versus the Redskins, Bengals versus the Dolphins, and during the first couple of weeks, and the Bengals versus the Jaguars. I think the Bengals got a chance to be 7-9. That would be great. That would be a great turnaround. It'd be great for the future if the Bengals went 7-9. And I think that's definitely achievable. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So that is my prediction. I know the Vegas line sits at 5.5, but after obviously my take on this, they're going to bump it up to 6.5. So get your bets in now. If you're a gambling man, which I am, definitely bet the over on 5.5 of Bengals wins this year. Because I mean, if you really go through their schedule, it's really not out of the realm of possibility. I like the Bengals. Over 5.5 on season wins. Oh, all right. That's pretty much all I got for this week. We blew through the entire schedule, which is great. Next week, I think I do want to I want to dive into the AFC North and the matchups versus the Bengals in both of them. I think if we dove deep into, let's say, the two matchups with the Browns and the two matchups with the Ravens and really dissect their team, I think that would be a lot of fun. I'm going to put the poll out there to see what you guys want to listen to. I appreciate all you guys for listening and growing the brand. Remember, there is a main show, the Back Row Fantasy Show. That's a great podcast if you're really into fantasy and NFL gambling and NFL news all together. Great podcast. Give them a listen. And again, all things Bengals here. If you're listening just because you're a fan of podcasts, or maybe you're playing the Bengals this week or whatever. They have a whole bunch of other teams. We don't have the entire NFL, all the NFL yet, but I think we have at least over half of them. So definitely give it a look. Back Row Sports. I appreciate all you. If you can't get enough of me and you want more sports gambling, at the Degenerate L1 on Twitter, go to Basement Sports Podcast on Apple or SoundCloud. That will be just me. And then if you want to listen to, if you're a UC fan, a Bearcats fan, obviously you can find me also on Viva La Cats, or if you follow the Barstool Cincinnati page, a majority of a lot of the content is coming from me and my crew members from Barstool. So thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, Hoo Day, and let's go 7-9, and let's get ready for the future. All right, see you later, Bengals fans. Hoo Day.